Why Einstein refused to be president of Israel. Chapter 1. The day Israel called Einstein. In the year 1952, something very surprising happened in Albert Einstein's life. By that time, Einstein was already the most famous scientist in the world. His theory of relativity had made him a symbol of human intelligence, and his kind face with messy white hair was known everywhere. But one autumn morning, Einstein received news that was not about science. It was about politics, leadership, and a new country looking for hope. Israel had been created only a few years earlier, in 1948. After years of struggle and pain, Jewish people finally had their own homeland. The country was still very young and still facing many problems, both inside and outside. The first president of Israel, Chaim Weizmann, had just passed away. His death left a big space in the heart of the nation. The leaders of Israel wanted someone who could fill that space, someone who could unite people and give the world a strong message. After talking among themselves, they thought of one name, Albert Einstein. For them, Einstein was not just a great scientist, but also a man who represented Jewish pride. He had escaped from Nazi Germany, he had spoken against hatred, and he had always supported the dream of a Jewish homeland. Now, Israel wanted him as their second president. On that day, Einstein was shocked to learn that he was being offered the most powerful position in the new nation. He was living quietly in Princeton, in the United States, working on his scientific ideas. Suddenly, the world knocked on his door with an unexpected question. Would he leave science and become the leader of a country? Chapter 2. A world-famous scientist, not a politician. Einstein's whole life had been about learning, thinking, and explaining the mysteries of the universe. He was the man who had changed how people understood time, space, and energy. For him, equations were more familiar than political speeches. He never joined politics in any serious way because he did not like the struggle for power, the arguments, and the need to please different groups. He once said, "Politics is for the moment. An equation is for eternity." This showed clearly where his heart was. When Israel offered him the role of president, he thought deeply about what it meant. Could a man who had never run even a small office suddenly lead a whole country? Einstein felt he was the wrong person for such a big responsibility. He cared about peace, about fairness, and about people living together without hate. But he did not know how to make laws, run armies, or lead governments. Also, Einstein was already an old man in 1952. He was 73 years old, and his health was not very strong. Leading a nation would require endless energy and sharp decisions every day. He feared that he could not give what the job required. While many admired his intelligence, Einstein himself felt that his wisdom belonged to science, not to politics. When he looked at himself, he saw a thinker, not a ruler. He knew that the skills of a president were very different from those of a scientist. The offer was a great honor, but it also placed him in a very difficult situation. Chapter 3. Einstein's surprising reaction. When the official letter from Israel arrived, Einstein was deeply touched. It was signed with respect and filled with admiration for his life's work. The leaders explained that they wanted him not just because of his fame, but because he represented the spirit of the Jewish people. They believed his presence would inspire the young nation and show the world that Israel stood for knowledge, creativity, and survival. Einstein read the letter slowly, and his eyes became wet. He said later that this was the greatest honor ever offered to him. But inside, he also felt heavy. He knew that saying yes would change everything about his life. No more peaceful days of writing, no more quiet walks, no more hours lost in thought. His life would become one of meetings, arguments, and political struggles. Still, he did not give a quick answer. He took time to reflect. He spoke to close friends and advisors. Some told him to accept because it was a chance to shape history. Others told him to refuse because it would destroy his peace. Einstein himself was torn between pride and fear. He did not want to disappoint the leaders of Israel, but he also knew he could not pretend to be someone he was not. His reaction was full of emotion. On one side, he felt love for the Jewish people who had suffered so much. On the other side, he felt the truth of his own limits. For several days, he carried the weight of this decision, knowing that whatever he said would echo around the world. Chapter 4. Messages from Friends and Leaders. As news spread that Einstein had been offered the presidency, people began to send him letters and make visits. Many Jewish friends wrote to him, saying that this was his duty and a once-in-a-lifetime chance. They told him that Israel needed his name more than his experience, because his name was already a shield and a sword for the Jewish people. World leaders also reacted. Some were surprised. Others were doubtful. Could a scientist with no political background really lead a young and troubled country? Einstein listened to everyone, but answered very carefully. He never spoke with pride. Instead, he spoke with humility. He told his friends that he did not see himself as a leader. He worried that if he accepted, he might harm Israel rather than help it. The more people tried to convince him, the more he thought about the reality of politics. He knew that politicians often had to make hard decisions, sometimes even sending soldiers into war. Einstein hated war. He had already lived through 2 world wars and had seen millions die. He could not imagine himself giving such orders. His close friend once asked him directly, "Albert, will you take it?" Einstein shook his head and replied, "I am deeply moved, but I do not have the natural ability and experience to deal with human beings as a president must." These words showed his heart. He was honest, gentle, and unwilling to pretend to be something he was not. The pressure was high, but Einstein's clarity was growing stronger each day. Chapter 5. Why Einstein Said No. Einstein sat with the letter in his hand for a long time. The idea that people wanted him to be president of Israel was both an honor and a burden. He thought of his past life. He was a man of science, a thinker who spent his life looking at the stars, at the mysteries of atoms, and at the power of energy. He had never worked in politics. Politics was about power, leadership, arguments, and sometimes even lies. Einstein was a man of truth. He did not want to step into a world where truth was often lost. He also thought about his age. At that time, Einstein was already an old man. His health was weak, and he often felt tired. Becoming president meant he would have to work day and night. He would have to make difficult decisions and carry heavy responsibilities. Einstein knew he did not have the strength for that anymore. He was honest with himself and with the people. Einstein also knew that Israel was a very young country then. It needed a strong leader, someone who could bring people together, speak with power, and lead the nation in hard times. Einstein was not that person. He was kind, gentle, and shy in public speaking. He admitted this himself many times. With all this in mind, Einstein wrote a polite but clear letter back. He thanked the leaders of Israel for the honor, but he said no. It was a decision that shocked the world, but Einstein believed it was the right choice. Chapter 6. His love for peace and unity. Einstein's refusal was not just about age or weakness. It was also about what he truly believed in. All his life, Einstein spoke about peace. He saw 2 world wars. He saw people die in millions. He saw hatred destroy families, cities, and nations. These memories stayed with him forever. He never wanted to be part of anything that might cause division or more war. He also loved unity. Einstein believed that all people, no matter where they came from, were connected. He said many times that he felt like a citizen of the world, not just of one country. If he became president of Israel, he feared that people would see him only as a political leader of one nation, not as a voice for all humanity. That was not what he wanted. Einstein had already spent years working with groups that promoted peace and cooperation between nations. He signed letters, gave speeches, and used his fame to talk about friendship between people. Even though he loved Israel deeply, he felt his role was bigger. His role was to remind the whole world of kindness, science, and unity. So, when he refused, it was not out of disrespect. It was out of deep love for peace and his hope that the world could be one family. Chapter 7. What happened after his refusal? When Einstein's letter of refusal was made public, the world reacted in different ways. Many people respected his honesty. They said it showed his wisdom because he did not take a job he was not fit for. They believed it was brave to say no when so many others would have said yes just for fame and power, but others felt sad. Some leaders in Israel hoped Einstein would accept because his name alone could give the young nation great respect. They thought he could unite people just by being himself. However, Einstein knew better. He understood that leadership was more than just a famous name. It was about daily hard work, decisions, and sacrifices. After his refusal, Israel chose another leader. The country moved forward, and Einstein continued his life in America. He returned to teaching, writing, and speaking about peace. Even though he did not become president, people in Israel still loved him. They understood that he had made his choice not out of rejection, but out of truth. In fact, his refusal became part of his legend. It showed the world that Einstein cared more about honesty than about power. Chapter 8. The legacy of Einstein's decision. Years passed, but people never forgot the day Einstein said no to becoming president. His decision became a story told again and again. It showed the kind of man he was. Einstein was not greedy for power. He was not hungry for titles. He was a man who always followed his heart. This choice also taught the world an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest strength is in knowing your limits. Einstein understood himself clearly. He knew what he could do and what he could not. That honesty made him even greater. Leaders and students still study this story today as an example of true wisdom. His decision also left behind a message for Israel and for the world. He showed that science, peace, and truth are more powerful than politics. Even without being president, Einstein's ideas influenced nations. His call for peace, his fight against hate, and his dream of unity still inspire millions today. Einstein's refusal was not the end of his connection with Israel. He remained a supporter, a friend, and a symbol of hope. But his legacy was bigger than any office or position. His legacy was the reminder that the greatest leaders are not always those who rule, but those who teach humanity how to live with love, truth, and peace.